Okay, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whenever it is that you happen to be catching this Words of Wisdom interview. It is with great pleasure that I am here with Mr. Stefan Oscar Neff. He is my special guest today, and Stefan and I are going to be diving into one of the most fascinating and dynamic topics, which is how to make your money lucky. Uh, I will let Stefan dive deep into his story and sort of give a good introduction to himself in just a moment. But to give you an idea as to who this phenomenal guy is, he's not only just a dear friend of mine, but he is deeply committed, you guys, absolutely deeply committed to helping other people achieve phenomenal results in your life. And this is one of the primary reasons why Stefan has really immersed himself in the philosophy of lucky money and being and marrowing up like Ken Honda, the great wealth guru of Japan, speaks to people about and teaches people. And Stefan is all about helping you achieve maximum results, helping you get through some of the challenges that you're facing in your life. Some of the tough ones, like we're talking deep rooted, really difficult perspective challenges, state of being challenges. And let's be honest, you guys, money is one of those things where we have a perspective on it. We have a deep philosophy rooted inside ourselves based on what our parents probably gave us, what our community leaders gave us, what our religious leaders gave us a long time ago, right? And wealth is power, but the fact of the matter is what you want to use it for is entirely up to you. And we have this really, some of us have a really twisted relationship with wealth. And what we're going to talk about today is how you can start to change that relationship and make it way more dynamic. So without further ado, let me switch over to our full screen here, and let me introduce to you Mr. Stefan Neff. So Stefan, hang on one second here as I stop this and move us over to here. So Stefan, welcome, my friend. It is fabulous to see you. And welcome to the Words of Wisdom interview series, Stefan.
Well, first, I would say thank you so much, Michael. I have so much gratitude towards. You know, it's funny because we've met almost basically 2 years ago, and I've watched you yourself as such a kind and generous soul yourself. So myself, I have huge gratitude towards you and all the people watching. So it's phenomenal to have this opportunity to speak to all of your sort of wow people and the amazing people on this panel right now. So thank you so much.
Hey, my pleasure, Betty. My pleasure. I'm happy to have you. So, Stefan, I know about your history and some of your experiences here. So before we dive into the nuts and bolts and the strategy, tell this wonderful audience a little bit about yourself and how it was that you came into contact with the amazing Mr. Ken Honda.
Well, as I said, for me, actually, I was born in Richmond, British Columbia, 6 months, and then I moved to Langley. So I've been living in Langley for 50 years, nearly 50 years, actually just 50 years now. So really, yeah, so I'm 50 this year. And so I've been here all my life. And, we could go on and on about my full story, but to put it in a little nutshell, so is about money, is I had these past influences from my past, from my childhood, and my parents saying, wait until Christmas, wait until your birthday. So all these influences throughout my whole childhood, and then moving into my adult when I got married, and then getting divorced, and then getting remarried again to my wife, I had these money issues. So, and yes, I did get married to my wife, and then I actually divorced her and then remarried her again. So through a very long process of life sort of lessons. And so when I went to Colin Sprake's 3-day event, I saw this individual on social media. His name was Ken Honda. And I said to myself, wow. And this was back in 2016. And I said, wow, what a phenomenal individual. And I remember Ken giving Colin this gold coin on stage, and it gave me goosebumps and actually the emotion of Colin, almost tears coming from his eyes, and I said, I want to meet this Ken Honda. And within 3 days, I was in a seminar, a private seminar for Japanese people in Vancouver. So
Wow.
there was an attraction towards what he was saying really resonated with me. I mean, even goosebumps give it to me now, because it's like this energy vibration that he gives off. And so it was on a Saturday, and I was sort of nervous, and I went to this event because I was the only sort of, as you say, Caucasian that was at this event. So they're all Japanese people. And so I really, what I did was I had this question about our business, and I had it all in my mind and all set up. And so I asked him this question, and we were going to close our business at that point.
So hang on a second. You and your wife were going to close her amazing female coaching business that she runs. Now, for those who don't know, which would be most of us here who are watching, Stefan's wife is a phenomenal personal coach. She helps Japanese ladies get out of really difficult relationships and tough situations. And she is, I've met this woman. She's incredible at what she does. I mean, your wife has a vibrational energy that rocks a room, to say the least, right? And so I don't know how, it's a whole other story how Stefan was able to convince her to marry him again. Clearly, Stefan drugged her. But the fact of the matter is that his wife is amazing. So she has this great business. But even better than the money part of the business, what you're telling me, Stefan, is that she was ready to give up that whole mantle for herself, because this is her raison d'etre, right? Like, this is a huge calling for her. It gives her a lot of energy and purpose in life. So she was ready to give that up, is what you're saying.
Yeah, she was, just because of this one challenge that we had, and somebody was attacking us. So that we were frauds. And it was a huge challenge to go through that process. And we've learned that going through those challenge lines, but it was a wall. So we asked him this question, and what he had said really transformed and made us think about what we're doing. And the one word was the people that are attacking us they are going through their issues, and it was all to do with money. So it was to do with their money challenge. And so to really dive into those mental thoughts that we were thinking about our value. So to be able to understand that value that we have, that we can help people no matter what, if they're challenging us or not. So what he had said is not everybody's going to like you. Not everybody, you're not going to please everybody all the time. So we went back and we really thought, you know what, this really resonated with us. And then basically I took his sort of what he told us, and then we implemented it into our own business and our own mindset about how we thought about ourselves. So it was a really powerful day for me and my wife. And then we had a long conversation about that situation too as well.
And so at this stage then Stefan, because I've known you for several years. I knew you back then. Yes. And you and your wife were not in the financial position that you're in now.
No.
Like, let's talk specifically about the fact we're all here to hear about how to make our money lucky, right?
Yeah.
So what's been some of the stuff that's really shifted for you in the last 3 years, monetarily speaking? We don't know, you know numbers, but how has it shifted for you? Because I want people to understand what these moments, what these real moments in time can do when you open yourself up to be available to a guru or to someone who has really paved a pathway, and they show you that path. What happens in that moment when you choose to go down this route? I want people to hear that so that they can understand that they are just a simple choice away from a massive difference. So can you tell us what's happened since you made that choice?
So since that point, so within a year, we really shifted and we grew almost 300% since that 1 year. So that 1 year, 300%. And it all to do with mindset, but it also to do with scarcity. Scarcity of that we were going to be okay. That if we were going to, for example, charge double or triple what we actually charge, are people going to buy from us? so we had this fear.
Hmm.
And then also too is one of those things is we emptied our bank account. We emptied it. Basically, we bought tickets for her mom and her sister. We traveled around Canada, we went to Banff. We spent a small fortune. And so we emptied our bank account. And then within that month, after that month, we received 4 times what we spent.
What?
In return. Yep, 4 times what we spent in return in 1 month.
Okay, we're going to get into that in a little bit because I
Sure.
want to know how that process happened. I mean, I think I can speak for everybody. I'm fascinated by emptying the bank account because essentially what I think you're hinting at is that you used the money you had to give permission for more to come in. Is that what you're getting at?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. So we're going to dive into that a little bit further in just a minute because that's amazing. I mean, I'm excited to hear about that. Are you guys excited to hear about that? Okay. So
Sure.
with that in mind, give us a little bit of, so we know the power of what Ken Honda said. Stefan, can you do me a favor? Ken Honda is not on this Zoom. It's not going to be, I will get Ken Honda in a words of wisdom someday. I have to earn that right. So ultimately, let's, but give us a bit of a window into who Ken Honda is, where he came from, why his philosophy is so powerful, and what a bit of his story is for us. So we have some context, please.
Sure. So if we go back into his, the past, well, you know, I actually just had a phone call come in, so I'm going to let it run. Sorry, my apologies. My computer actually accepts phone calls.
Ah, okay.
Can you still hear me?
We can still hear you just fine. In fact, we're just listening to your ring right now, Steph.
I can't get it to stop, man. There he is. Okay.
Okay, the power of live, right? The power
of live, yeah. So going back to where Ken started was his father. Now you can read this in his book, but his father was an accountant, and then he learned from his father, and then he had a situation in his life that was very dramatic. His father and his whole family. So Ken, at the age of 20 years old or younger, had decided he's never going to have that situation happen in his life of really dramatic. So he made a decision, a very vital decision, to retire before the age of 30.
Okay.
So he retired at 30 years old, very well off, serving people, helping people. And then he became a father at basically the age of 29 years old, and was the basic caregiver to his daughter. And then what happened was he really started to see differences in watching people. And so he really understood by watching people how their mindset worked around money. So then his thought was, well, I'm going to write this little small book, and then this little small book, and he gave away like 100,000 copies. And then he started his book career. He never thought he could actually write a book because of his mindset. And so he said, okay, well, that's really fantastic. Then he's written, for the last 20 years, he's written 50 books, sold 50 books in the last 20 years.
Wow.
And or 20 odd years, and has sold over 8 million copies of his books.
Nice.
All in Japanese. And then and so he's also translated basically North American books, another 50, I think 55 or to 60 books he's translated into Japanese as well. So he has over 100 books to his name that are collaborations and so forth. So then he, for example, and I didn't know where he was going, but I know 2 years ago that he's had this plan that he was going to write this book about happy money. And so he dived right into happy money. And this man was very private, very private. So he didn't have social media. He didn't have any photographs of him online or anything. Even when the photograph that we took of him at the event in 2016, we weren't allowed to use.
On social media, you weren't allowed to use that photograph on social media?
No. So what happened was he opened up just this past year and on social media to, of course, promote his new book. And then I was like, oh, wow, cool. So I friended him automatically on Facebook.
As many of us did. Yep. As many.
Yep, exactly. So then he started to, and then I found out about the book. And then I ordered his book and got his audio. And then I did a actual Zoom call like this, a one-on-one coaching call with Ken just over a month ago. So phenomenal. One of those heartfelt individuals that you would ever meet in your entire life. He's such a kind soul, kind energy, and very one of those amazing people that you would love to meet and have coffee with.
Yeah. And so, Stefan, if you can take us back then a little bit, Ken Honda had a mentor, like many of us.
Yeah.
Right? Can you tell us a little bit about the relationship between Ken Honda and his financial sort of wealth mentor? Because that man, I believe at the time, he was the wealthiest man in Japan, wasn't he?
Yes. Yeah, so his name is Wahei. And so he was this, even thinking about him is quite amazing. So he was the owner of this candy company that babies can eat. So he created this company, and in his business, Wahei's business, he had these children singing this happy song. And that's what he created, this happy atmosphere within his business. And he just went, and this is like, I'm talking 35, 40, 50 years ago, this company had started. And he became one of the wealthiest men from that. And then he became a property, he brought, I don't know how many different properties. And then he became super wealthy. He's the Warren Buffett of Japan. Well, he's passed away now. And Ken had mentioned him in his book, and he's mentioned that Maru Up is also through Wahei as well. So that's where that comes from. And his he always has this giving heart. So he, no matter what, he never said no to people. He never had rejected what people were saying. He always had an open mind and open heart towards anybody. And the one thing that I learned was this super wealthy man never locked his doors.
Really? He never locked his doors of his house?
His house, his office. He used to have probably hundreds of thousands of dollars in his office, and he never locked his office. And so he didn't have this scarcity mindset that somebody was going to take away from him, that he was always going to be okay. Super amazing.
Yeah. So let's dive into that, Stefan, for a minute, because that's one of the key principles within Happy Money, if I'm right, is that one of the things that locks up our wealth is because we hang on to it voraciously, like eagles with our talons into it. That's right. We hoard it. We hang on to it. So let's dive into some of the key elements that make money happy. Just by a show of thumbs up. You guys liking this so far? Good stuff so far? Yeah? Okay, perfect. So let's jump in here, Stefan, into some of the ideas about why scarcity is the antithesis of wealth. You know what I mean? Like, why is it doing that? So can you dive into that for us a little bit? Because you've been studying this for some time now. You've been putting these principles into place for years, really, after you met Ken Honda. Happy Money's come out recently, but that's just really about someone publishing a book of the stuff that you've already been learning for some time. So this isn't new to Stefan, you guys. He's been using this principle, and that's exactly what he said 3 years ago. And I remember the pictures from that vacation, right? At the time, to be honest, it was a lavish, beautiful vacation. They went to Banff Hotel. They did some gorgeous stuff. And you paid for everybody to go, if I'm right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
So I rember thinking at the time, because I didn't know this is new information for me, Stefan. I thought, wow, this guy is wealthy. I had no idea you emptied your damn bank account to do that.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm upset that I was tricked. But this is the thing, right? So talk to us about this scarcity mindset, because I don't know about everybody else, but this is a mindset that I've fought against for a long time. How about you guys? Just by a nod or a thumbs up in the air, have you fought against this scarcity concept, right? Like the idea that, man, I've got to hang on to my pennies because if I don't, I'll never get them back again. Right? You know what I mean? So I think a lot of us have suffered from this scarcity mindset. So why don't you jump into this, Stefan, and lead us to why scarcity mindset is one of those things that's preventing us from having abundance.
Absolutely. And basically, for me personally, I had this money fear myself from my childhood and my influences, even my grandparents, television, all the scarcity around. And I remember detail about my parents' issue around money. And so that scarcity of money in our family sort of dynamic was very strong. And I remember my mother and my father always arguing about money. And that put it into my thoughts, means into my subconscious mind on a daily basis. Like this was a daily basis. And I remember always that, if you've ever had that term said was, take from Paul to pay Mary. I'm not sure if that was the right terminology.
Oh, yeah. You're taking from Peter to pay Paul.
That's right. And so that was a constant every week, every month battle with my parents because they owned their own business. And so, to tell the truth, they lost their whole, their farm, their house, everything because of their scarcity of mindset. And this was, they had bought their property back in 1969 for $38,000. And then, back in the 1990s, late 1990s, they lost the farm. So with the scarcity of money, so myself, that brought it into my adulthood. And I always thought, that jealousy, that scarcity, that, why do they have more than me? Why does my neighbors have a brand new car, but I'm driving this clunker car? This was
totally right. I remember driving in the car with my mom, Stefan, and she would look at a Mercedes that drove by, and she would say things like, "Oh, well, that must be nice," right? Stuff like that.
Yep. And so now I've had this new thought. Wow, I'm so using that grateful, and I have gratitude. Wow, fantastic, beautiful car. I would like to have that car. And so that saying that if I have that car, then I am that person that I do not like. So,
right.
So accepting that part of life for me was to get over that fear. And Michael and the whole panel here, every single day, even now, I even have some of those money things. So I had some money in a box, like a shoe box, right?
Yeah.
A shoe box
that
I was storing for a holiday. And my wife's like, okay, why are you holding on to that? Are you learning the money mindsets from all these gurus around the world, but you have money in a friggin' box? So like release it. And that's how the flow of money. So even up to, those things come in our lives. So to say that I don't have any blocks, that's actually untrue, because you go through that process every day. So we all have these moments of clarity. Okay, am I thinking this way? Is that a true statement? That's my perception of it.
Right.
So
Stefan, take us back to the principle itself for a moment. So if you were to summarize in a sentence here, what is the principle behind this don't hang on to your money? What is the principle behind that scarcity there? Can you summarize that in a sentence for us?
So is to release that fear that you are going to have in return coming to your life. So releasing that fear that actually it comes to your life, even when you release it. So let me think about this. Because when you actually feel connected to the giving part, to the gratitude of letting it go.
Gotcha.
So you are going to be fine. You are going to be okay. There's nothing more important in life than yourself, not the money. Because the money is money. You can make more money.
Right. So it's basically like a shift in faith to a certain degree, right?
Yeah.
Is you're essentially saying, I have faith that when I like what you guys did for this vacation, right? Like I have faith that this money is going to come back to me, right? So take me back for a moment here, and take all of us back for a moment. When you made this decision to empty the bank account, as it were, to go on this lavish, amazing 3 or 4 week, I can't remember how long it was, about 3 week vacation or so. So tell us a little bit about that mindset and how that exemplifies this concept.
I was scared shitless.
Nice. Yep.
That's because when you're emptying that out and you're like, but you know in your mind it's the right thing to do. It is the truth. So yes, we had fear. We did have fear on it. So the feeling was fear, and then all of a sudden was happiness, and then all of a sudden it was gratitude, and then all of a sudden we came back to us within 1 month after that. 1 month, like it was. Then all of a sudden, like I literally, Michael, we were driving to Whistler, and my wife told me about it, about what that month, because we were just having discussion, what that month of how we our monthly intake. And when she told me, I literally, Michael, had tears coming from my eyes. And my wife looked over at me and says, "Why are you crying?" But Michael, I've never had that much money in my bank account at one point in my life, at any point in my life. I never have. And that those tears of joy really overpowered me. Now I can process that. It's still within me because I can have that memory. So
Right.
huge gratitude, and gratitude is a huge part of it. Huge part of it.
So essentially what we're talking about here, everybody, is that in order to achieve a level of financial abundance, you must give it permission to walk into your life, right? You have to clean out your proverbial closet, as it were, to invite in the new wealth. Is that what we're getting at here, Stefan?
Yeah,
There are
yeah.
times when you have to purge the old money to invite in new, happier, more wealthy, more money. Is that what we're getting at?
Yes. So release the negativity that you have surrounding money. Yeah.
And I don't think neither Stefan nor myself would just say, okay, everybody, empty your bank accounts, go on a crazy vacation. What we're getting at is the idea that if you're hanging on to that $5 bill, right, like it's a lifeline, then ultimately you're not giving permission for the universe to bring you more, because as you and I both know, Stefan, energy flows where we give it permission to flow, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. Yep.
Awesome. So
I do.
let's talk about the idea now of the happy money,
Sure.
because and making your money lucky, as it were. So because one of the things, as you talked about here for a moment, was that Y, who is, am I saying the right Y?
YA.
YA
Yep.
was Ken Honda's guru, like his mentor.
Yes.
He had children singing, like we're talking like a classic Willy Wonka candy factory with kids singing kind of thing. And they were singing happy songs all the time in this man's factory. What did
Mm.
YA say that did for him?
Mm. Well, what it did was create. So when that music was playing, all the employees became much happier.
Hmm.
And when it went right actually into the candy, and it went into his business, and then went into from the candy, it went into the people they were giving the candy to. So that happiness spread around Japan, not just through the candy, but through the energy that when they were producing the candy.
Right, right. Very cool. And that lended itself to his wealth.
Yep. Huge. And his giving heart. So all those coins, those gold coins, come from Wahe. So
let's go there for a second, because you said that Colin received this gold coin. Okay.
yes.
So he received this gold coin from Ken on stage at that Business Excellence. And I was there. I remember that moment myself. I was there. What does that gold coin symbolize, Stefan? What was Ken giving him?
So Ken was giving him the appreciation from Colin to bring him to Canada, to bring him onto stage, and Colin's kindness of heart to helping people. So by giving Colin that coin was an appreciation of what Colin was doing and what Colin is helping others do. So that's what that coin symbolizes, is how people think about what they're doing. And it's not a monetary thing or anything like that. It's to do with, kindness, gratitude, and giving. Mm-hmm. So by giving that coin was Ken Honda's way of thanking Colin.
Gotcha. Amazing. And so there's two big points to this, everybody. So if I can sort of step back for a sec here and reframe this, essentially we have to give money permission to come in.
Yes.
And like, because money is a renewable, rotating, ever flowing resource. And if we stopgap that money, which is one of the principles that Ken Honda talks about, that Stefan's referencing, is if you stopgap the money, it stops flowing. And so you must be willing to give, right? To give of your wealth in order to receive more. And one of the principles that I remember Ken talking about was that as you do such, as you give money, right, in buying things and in charity and everything else, you increase your reservoir, your capability to use that money as a resource. And one of the primary principles, if I remember correctly here, Stefan, correct me if I'm wrong, please, is that ultimately the universe is saying, okay, Michael, you were able to use this much wealth to do this. What can you do with this much? What can you do with this much? What can you do with this much? And they start, and basically the idea is that the larger volume of wealth that you put into the world to be charitable with and to give with abundance, the larger the reservoir, the capacity that you have now to create wealth as well. Am I on the right track here,
Yeah,
Steph?
absolutely. Bang on to the truth. Yeah, absolutely. Because the more you give, the more it opens up.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Very true. Yeah. And like you said, the reservoir opens up and gets bigger and wider, and all of a sudden it just goes, as I said, viral.
Right. And
That's
this is what's
does.
happened for you and your wife in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's what exactly we opened it up. So we opened up that whole process of receiving. So receiving the money. And there's one other thing that is very important, is how we view, for example, back in 2017, I bought this phenomenal wallet. Is how we place and think about money in our own possession. So that's one of those things too. There's so many different great tips and processes within Ken's book, and that's the one the product that Ken has, is how to think about money and how to perceive what money really feels like when we have money.
Right. So let's jump into that in 1 sec. I just want to summarize. So the first part, you guys, one of the key elements, if we're talking about three key things here that Ken Hunt is talking about, that sense of abundance, right? That sense of the universe, the world. There is plenty of wealth to go around for all of us to share, for all of us to use, for all of us to be happy with. So that sense of abundance and allowing the flow in your life, the money to flow through you for its final purpose or its next purpose, right? That idea, that sense of abundance, that there is energy in wealth and it's flowing through you. It's not stopping at you. That makes a big, huge difference, right? And that you should be making the creation of wealth a happy process. A happy process. It shouldn't be, you don't want to live in a state where you're making money, but you're frustrated making money, you're angry making money, you're disappointed making money, you're struggling making money. These things lend itself to poverty. They lend itself to scarcity because of the energy you're surrounding the creation of your money, of your wealth with. Am I right so far, Stefan?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. So then the next thing is about, as you were talking about, you've got this beautiful wallet. It's about respect, right?
Absolutely.
It's about respecting the wealth, because a lot of us are very frivolous with our money. And we think, oh, that's being charitable, I'm just going to spend it here. But that's not what Ken Hunt is getting at, is he? He's getting about the idea of be charitable with your dollars, but be respectful of the money. Treat it with dignity, treat it with respect, and it will want to come to you, right?
Absolutely.
So walk us through that a little bit.
So for example, myself, back in 5 or 6 years ago, when I was paying my taxes, we all pay taxes, of course. So
I don't. Never paid them. No, never happened. Oh my gosh, the CRA is going to come after me.
So that scarcity about paying bills, paying, our taxes, is to be grateful for paying taxes, because if we don't pay taxes, we're not making any money. So the more money that you pay in taxes, that means more money that you're making. So I often thought about that as a negative. So more taxes I paid, the more unhappy I was.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of people that go, I'm happy for the tax man. That's not the way they say that word, is it?
No, that's this scarcity, and that's the fear around money. And that's what I've learned. And so the whole process of actually taking your money and be grateful by giving it to the CRA and say, thank you. And that's the process that we're doing. So we did that last year and we did it again this year. And we've just sort of learned this process because we had that scarcity around and that fear, pay bills, oh no. And then that energy that we felt was very uncomfortable about paying bills, cell phone bills, all those bills.
What was interesting to me, Stefan, is even the way, I don't know if anybody else picked this up, but even the way Stefan did that gesture of giving money to the CRA, it was very as if it's a gift. This is your gift from me, right? Whereas you're paying the tax man.
Yep.
Very different physical gestures, right? So that's even, it's talking about like, this is a gift from me to you as a thank you for all you do as a government. Here is my portion of what I've earned to keep doing amazing stuff. Like being respectful. And when we view it as a gift, Stefan, we view it as respectful, right? I have earned this and now I'm giving it to you. This isn't a freaking bill. This is a gift to you for doing these amazing things for me. And I don't know about anybody else, but just watching Stefan's body language there, that already made a shift in how I think about bills immediately.
Awesome.
Right? And so, just your gesture, Stefan.
Oh, that's huge. And we actually used cash to pay it. So we pulled the cash out for the taxes out of the bank. And so we had the tax.
And money. Why is that, Stefan? Why are you using cash? What does that do in your mentality? How does that make you feel?
Because when you look at cash as an actual physical form, we looked at the cash for 7 days. So we looked at it and we appreciated and brought into ourselves that appreciation of money, of cash. Because if it's just a number and if it's just automated system and you just go through a bank, you don't actually physically see it and don't have an emotional connection with it. So the emotional connection when we actually took that cash and went back to the bank, same bank again, and deposited and paid our bill. And it was very funny because the bank said, well, where did you get this money from? I said, from your bank.
So you went to the bank a week before, pulled out the tax bill cash, or I said again, the tax gift cash.
There you go.
Looked at it for a while, essentially to a certain degree, putting positive energy into that cash, making it happy, right? You made it happy.
Yes.
And then you handed it back to the teller. They're like, where did you get all this money from? And you said, you,
you
handed it to me. That's awesome.
Yep. And of course, that was the process. So we also did it again this year too. And so really for us, it really helps us. It really truly helps us in our way of thinking and our gratitude and our process of releasing some of those issues or fears around money.
And as we've talked about, like we're getting this, like everybody, we get this sense that money is filthy, negative for a long time. I mean, I've heard the term dirty money many times. I've never heard about the term clean money, right? I mean, we don't hear these terms, right? And if you think about like Hollywood, come on, every villain to a certain degree is a greedy son of a bitch robbing people of their money and their wealth. Whereas the hero is some do-gooder who's got nothing, needs nothing, just the broad on my back to get shit done, right? Like it's so ridiculous, but we're inundated with this, right? Like we're buried in it. The whole thing, money doesn't grow on trees. Well, technically it's paper, so it is growing. You know what I mean? Like all of this stuff that we're getting all the time, it's so dangerous to sit in that headspace because now the entire state of energy we have surrounding money as a resource is very scarcity mindset. It's very, you got to go out and get yours, right? You got to go out and get yours. And we've got, in order to make money, you got to be stealing from somebody, right? And what does Robin Hood do? Well, he steals from the rich and gives to the poor, right? Like it just doesn't, You know what I mean? Like it's not, Robin keeps nothing for himself. He's so altruistic, right? Oh, what a load of nonsense. Like, and I guess what I'm getting at is that this is so important for people to understand that wealth is an energy source. It's not, and whether you want to taint that energy source with your negative crap or you want to put positive, happy, or gratefulness, charity into that resource is really up to you. And one of the main things Ken Honda is clearly demonstrating, you guys, is that wealth can be attracted to you if you give wealth to wealth.
Yep. And you give it permission.
Permission. Yeah.
Yep. Huge.
Cool.
Yep.
So let's open this up, you guys. So right now, I'm just going to list the 3 things again. So ultimately, practicing abundance, right? So that's one of the key elements. You have to practice abundance, right? You have to be charitable. You have to be grateful. You have to practice abundance around money and use your money as a flow through, right? Be a conduit for wealth. Don't be a stopgap, right? Saving and preserving your wealth in a freaking jar till the end of your days is not flowing wealth through you. It's stopping wealth from flowing. Therefore, you'll always be given only a limited amount. And when we release that, right, is that you're ultimately expanding the reservoir of what's possible and more wealth will flow through you. So far, so good. That's point number 1, Stefan. Yeah?
Yep.
And then ultimately making it happy.
Yep, absolutely.
Like surrounding your wealth with happy, positive energy so that it's vibrationally wanting to attract more wealth. And that people who are interacting with you, they're buying product from you, they're doing business with you, they feel that resonance of happiness. And that will obviously attract more abundance, right? That's number 2. And then number 3 is being respectful of money. Not being frivolous with it, right? Like not being carefree with it. Using your resources to create wonderful experiences for those people around you. Like Stefan did when him and his wife emptied their bank account and took her family on this amazing, their family on an amazing vacation. That was using wealth in a way that made the world a better place. Not using it for another Starbucks cup of coffee. You know what I mean? Like not being frivolous with it, being intentional and practicing charity with it and giving it away for wonderfulness and being respectful of it and giving the money when it's time to pay your bills, giving your money as a gift to those people for doing wonderful things for you on the other side.
Absolutely.
Right? Those are the 3 things.
Cool. And can I add one thing is
yeah.
For example, when you're saving money, because that whole process of saving money is actually one of the principles of, towards our future, means retirement. So Ken talks about that in his book. That's a fantastic way to actually even create happy money towards your future. So
what you're alluding to, Stefan, is that saving money is great if you have a purpose for it.
Yes,
like it absolutely. Has to be given a purpose, right? So I'm using this money's being saved for this, and therefore it gives the money a sense of purpose and value.
Yep. Absolutely.
And I guess in a way, now that I think about it, it's like the money has flowed through you. It's not stopping. It's just paused before it goes to this place, right?
Because you have a purpose for it. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep.
Cool. Okay. So, Stefan, you ready for this voracious panel of questions here?
Absolutely. Bring it on.
All right. Okay. So, just by a show of thumbs up, everybody, so far so good? You loving this? Okay. So, cool. So let's get into the chat box here, guys. I've got my chat box all set up. So if you have a question for Stefan, please virtually raise your hand by saying question or me, whatever you want to type in the chat box. I'll open up your microphone so we have a nice clean sound, and we can ask Stefan some questions. So does anybody have any questions for him? Anybody have anything so far that they want to dive a little deeper on or have Stefan explain a little more? Everyone's a little bit going, oh, wow, I just got to think about all this. I got to think about all this, right? How does this all play in?
I think Doug has a question.
Perfect. Go ahead, Doug. I'll open up your mic. If I can. Why are you not unmuting? Go ahead.
There he is.
So I guess my question is, what do you say to people who, they read the book or they listen to this and they go, okay, well, I'm not even saving any money because, I make what I make from my job. And then at the end of the month, there's no money left, but I make it again. Like every month I make it again, but it never grows. So if somebody asked that question, like, hey, why, I'm following this principle. I'm letting it flow through me. There's none left at the end of the month, but it's not growing. What would you say to them?
The one thing that I would say to them, thank you. That's a great question, Doug. Thank you very much. The one thing that I would say to them is that short amount of time, expecting things to happen in a short amount of time. And the one thing that Ken talks about in his book is that having a 3-year process. The 3-year process is to building that one. And are you practicing, for example, saying thank you? For every time, if you were telling that person, say thank you, every moment that money is released. So if you're going to a teller, say thank you. You go into a bank, you find a little dime on the ground. Oh, thank you, thank you. So that process of continuously saying that, and that's what Wahei said, is if you're saying thank you 1,000 times a day, 1,000 times, that's, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. In a process, is saying thank you on a continuous basis and really truly meaning it. Because if it doesn't mean much at the moment, at the time, but after time, by saying thank you, when you're releasing that money, the flow will come. Now, saving money, even if it's only, as I said, even if it's only a friggin' dollar, it's $30 a month. And if you add it all up, $30 a month times 12, what's the math there?
360.
$360 a year. And if you put $2 away, even just $2 a day, it adds up, it adds up, and adds up. $5 a day. And all of a sudden you have $1,000. You go on a holiday, go on a trip, you have $1,000 at the end of the year. So even if these smaller amounts, because oftentimes we think in a larger scale, oh, I got to put $100 a month in the bank. And then it'll grow and grow and grow. Yes, it will get to that point when you start building it up. But as soon as you put that first dollar in there, it shifts the way you're thinking about just $1 a day to saving your money. So you can tell that person just $1 a day, $1, that's all it takes just to start off. And all of a sudden you look at it and go, wow, okay, great. I'm saving this much a month, even if it's $30. And all of a sudden it's 60. And then if you add more to it, then it keeps on growing and growing and growing. And then the mindset changes.
Yeah.
The mindset shifts, and then the feeling inside of us shifts.
Totally. And one of the things I love about what you just said, Stefan, is to sort of go deeper on your question, Doug, is that sense of abundance that wealth requires in order to flow into your life is supported by you having extra, even if it's a small amount, right? When I know that when I started saving, simply it was just what Stefan said. I started to save $2 a day, a toonie a day. That was my promise to myself, was a toonie a day, right? And that sense of abundance, that there is more, there is wealth coming, right? There's more. I can buy this and not feel a scarcity mindset, even in a small way, started to flow, right? When you had that little bit extra above and beyond what you would normally spend. And the other thing I wanted to address is that a lot of people who have more month at the end than money, as it were, right? Or just breaking even, okay? They need to look at their spending habits, because quite often they're not practicing that respectful nature of money. They're being frivolous. And money doesn't flow to those people who are frivolous with it, who use it for selfish purposes, use it purely for self-indulgence, right? Money flows to those people who use their wealth for charitable reasons, who use their wealth in a positive abundance mindset way. That's where the money flows the most, because money realizes that's a good reason, that's a good way to go. People are benefiting from this. And sometimes I think we're quite frivolous with our money. And that's one of the reasons we have very little month left at the end of the money, or money left at the end of the month, whatever. Yes. Yep. Got it. Does that help answer your question, Dougie?
And one other thing, Doug, it's all to do with baby steps. So one little tiny baby step for me. That's how I started. Is I didn't jump into the whole process of, okay, I'm going to create happy money. That's okay. I didn't do that, and I'm still in that process. And I always say I'm in that process on a continuous basis. And I will never stop being in that process throughout my life, because that process comes on a continuous basis.
Right. Well, and that makes sense. I mean, just given the nature of what we're talking about, and I mean, life life is like a river that kind of flows through where we are. And it brings different challenges with it. And so when you meet that challenge, you might get caught up in it for a minute and then be like, oh, hold on, I need to readjust how I'm thinking. So I totally understand that. You said, if they save $1 a day, $30 a month. And I understand what you're saying, but I mean, you said that if you're saving money, it has to have a purpose. If they're saving, and I'm thinking about this not necessarily for myself, but for the people in my life that are going to hear this and go, well, this doesn't. I'm saving $30 a month, but I don't have a purpose for it. So, when you start saving that money, does it need a purpose, or is it okay to have it there just to be, you know what, I'm going to do something good with it, but right now it's just to show myself that I can do this? What would that step look like?
Well, that step, thanks, Doug, for that. That's a great point. So that means they have no purpose going on for their destination. So it means it's for them, it's monetary for their own personal happiness at the point. So when you're doing it for others, means towards the future, means for your children, or if it's for themselves, they're going to spend it on something that they want at that point. So finding a destination for it is huge. Having a destination is they can write it down. They can even have a goal. This money is going to be used for this goal, and that goal is to go buy a car, or, for example, put a down payment on a holiday on their new house, or whatever it may be, or as simple as buying a new phone. Or they're putting the money away for the end of the month so they can go for dinner. Whatever it may be. But writing down that goal, where they're going to do it, and have it mentally stamped into their mindset, is this money is going to go towards that. Because if there's no purpose for the money, then that flow is going to stop. And there's no. Go ahead, Doug.
I'm assuming that the second part to that is, if you bookmark this money for a nice dinner out, so that happens.
Yep.
Don't cheat yourself from that. I achieved this. Now I'm giving this gift. You can't not do that and go, oh, well, I'm just going to do it later.
Absolutely.
No, do it now. You said you were going to. It's part of the process. Yeah.
Yes. They have to follow through. They have to follow through on their goal, because then that money is now going to be. Actually becomes negative, unhappy money, right? Because it starts to be unhappy, and then that flow stops. Right. Because that flow never stops for that happiness towards happiness, and it also stops when it's unhappy, and so then it becomes, like you said, you're blocking yourself. They're blocking themselves.
And the thing I love about that too, Stefan, great questions, Doug. Thank you. The thing I love about that too, Stefan, is when you give your money a sense of purpose and a sense of belonging as to why it's there and what it's going to do, you tend to put more into it. Like, you tend to pretty quickly go, well, $1 a day is great, but I want to do 3 because I'd love to have this happen faster. I'd love to have this come to me in an even more abundant way. And suddenly goes from $3 to $10, and suddenly it's $10 to $50. You're like, $50 or $50 a day, $1,500 a month. I can put that into this because I want a beautiful home for my family. That's the purpose of the money. That's what it's doing. I want a beautiful home for my family in 5 years from now, which means I need to put $1,500 away every single month. I started out with $1, but this became more important to me, so it became $10. Then it became $20. Now it's $50 a day, because this is so important to me. I want to get this done, and the sooner I can have this money, this reservoir put together for this purpose, the faster this happens for me, and the sooner I get to enjoy this beautiful home with my family. If you're going, I'm going to put $50 a day away so I can buy a house, end of point, it's way less engaging for that person, and they're way less inclined to do it. Cool. Great questions, Dougie. Anybody else? We can take another question or two here. Anybody else have a question they'd love to ask Stefan? Just put it into the chat box and and we can take another question or two. Anybody else have one? And the questions can be in regards to, of course, the sense of abundance that we were just talking about. It can be about how to make the money actually happy, like what could you do in your life, or of course, this idea of respect of the money, or you want to dive a little deeper into any of Stefan's story or anything like that.
Complete silence, Michael.
Yeah, I know. I've got a question. What is this yellow pin you've put on yourself?
Oh, it's a little happy. It's a magnet. So I always keep them in both sides of my pocket.
Okay.
And so in my pants, and I actually sleep with it too as well. So they're little magnets. They're little happy
We'll
magnets.
dive into there, Stefan. I don't know what.
Yeah, well, yeah. They're just little happy magnets, and then on the other side is money.
Those are fun.
And that's attached to it. So I have a dime that's attached to this, and I have it in my pocket at all times. So, and it's how I use it to myself. I use it for my own sort of feeling. And then what I do is I go like this, and then money attracts.
Ah, I love it.
So that's what I use.
I don't know about anybody else. I want those. Who wants those? Okay, you gotta tell, how do we get those, Stefan?
You know what? I'll find out, and I'll send you a link.
Okay, perfect. Well, speaking of that, you guys, so did everybody get value out of today just by thumbs up? Was that cool stuff? Okay, awesome. So, Stefan, before I ask my final question of you today,
Sure.
let us know how people can learn more about Happy Money, how people can maybe they want to hear a little bit more from you specifically, Stefan, how you're using it, what you're doing with it. Stefan does beautiful work, you guys, with people who have addiction problems. So as someone who has an addiction story, I think it's okay for me to say that, Stefan.
Sure. Yeah.
And who's gone through this process and come out the other side with this amazing mindset, right? I mean, from someone who had a real addiction problem, let's put it mildly, and one of the reasons why your beautiful wife said, "See you later," at one point. And some of the stuff was solved, which is why she was like, "I guess I'm back." So if you want to find out more about Stefan, if you want to find out more about Happy Money, if you'd love to buy the book, I'm going to put, and I'm going to be honest, this is Stefan's Amazon link for the book. So if you'd love to be gifting some of that money for the book to Stefan as well as a thank you for showing you the book and revealing it to you, then I'm going to put Stefan's link in the chat box for Amazon. But Stefan, why don't you tell us how people can get a hold of you, where they can find you, and yeah, we'll go from there.
Sure, absolutely. So yeah, it said then people could contact me via social media, and so they can friend me on social media. And of course, Irene, the lovely Irene, is already she's already a great dear friend of mine. Also, too, they can send me an email at Stefan Neff 53 at gmail.com, or just throw me a text at 778-551-0419, and we can have a fantastic chat. So, and I also have a blog that I'm writing about relationships at the moment. So that's also stefaneffblog.com. So I'm also writing a blog that I've been doing for a while now. So yeah, and if you have any person in your life, because I do two different groups. So one for the loved ones that are affected by addictions, means like, for example, the mother or father, brother and sister, that their loved one. So I facilitate meetings for them, and then I also rock at the recreation center in White Rock, beautiful White Rock. So I do that. Mondays I do family and friends, and then Wednesday I do that on the regular one. So after this, I will go and I'll do a facilitating meeting tonight.
Cool.
Phenomenal.
Great, Stefan.
As I know it feels like. Yep. So that's how they can get a hold of me.
Awesome. Cool. Real quick, which I'm going to unmute you, Dougie. Which number are you referencing, sir?
His phone number.
Oh, his phone number.
Yeah.
Type it into the chat box, would you, Stefan?
Sure can right now.
Okay. Thank you. We won't put it publicly here declared because we're recording this, and who knows what wild and wacky people are going to be with all sorts of crazy information. Okay, so
it's okay.
All right, Stefan. So let me ask my final question of you. All right, you ready for this? Stefan does not know what
Absolutely.
this question is.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm excited.
There we go. So, Stefan, if you reach the
Yes.
pinnacle of what you want to do with what you're doing with your life, okay, you reach the zenith of what happens in your life with what you're doing, what is the legacy that you'd like to leave on this world from Stefan Neff?
What would be the legacy?
What's the impact?
What's the impact? For me personally, is to own what we share, own what we do, and take 100% responsibility for everything that we do for others and we do for ourselves.
Cool.
Take 100% responsibility. And that's what I've learned from many of my guru transformational leaders, and I will live by that. As take responsibility. 100%.
So if it's going to happen, it's up to you, buddy.
Yep. There's no one that makes me happy except for me.
Cool.
That's one of my biggest legacies is I'm going to be happy no matter what.
And your money is too.
Yeah, and my money is, yeah. So
Beautiful.
we can't take our money with us, right? So.
No, you can't take your money with you. All right, everybody, please join me in giving Stefan a wonderful round of applause. Thank you. That was a wonderful interview, my friend.
Thank you.
I'm going to stop the recording here. And before I get there, for those who are watching this as a recording, please give us a comment or like this particular recording here. It's been an absolute pleasure of mine to be here with Mr. Stefan Neff and our audience today. Great questions, everybody. And it's been an honor, Stefan. It was wonderful having you on here. Thank you so much for being on with us, Stefan.
Thank you. You know what? I have huge gratitude towards all the panel, all the people that you're involved with, Michael, because I know what you're doing and you have a mission and mission to helping people. And I truly appreciate everything that you do, Michael.
Thanks, my friend. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So as Stefan put it, if you need to rewind this and take a little listen as to how to get a hold of Stefan and what he's doing, please do that. His link will be in the post as well for how to get the book. I'm probably going to go buy that book today. And so thank you so much, Stefan, for watching this. And thanks everybody at home who's watching from their phones or their computers. We will be seeing you in a few weeks for our next Words of Wisdom interview show. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a fabulous, fabulous afternoon.